What's going on, y'all? Thanks for checking in the Khaliis Take. You know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell just so you can get the newest and the bonus content first. But hey, let's just go ahead and jump right in. You know, the last several games for the Clippers, they've been lacking something. They've been missing something. And they have been playing without something that's been their staple all season long, if you ask me. And that's been their defense. The Clippers' defense the last few games hasn't been good, with or without Paul George, might I add. Because like their last 5 games, they've given up 120 plus points in their last 5 games. You can't do that. I mean, let's see, 130, 127, 121. I mean, it's like you can go on and on. Like I said, the last 5 games, they've given up a lot of points and they're not really, I just feel like they've given up points in other games at other parts of the season. I just feel like right now they're giving up way too many more points. They're allowing teams to put up, score or make way too much on them when their defense is so much better than that. The Clippers as a unit defensively are one of the top 5-10 teams in the NBA throughout the season. And it's been that way with, Kawhi, without PG, whoever, and even without Norman Powell, because he wasn't even there at one point. But that's what I'm saying. Their defense has been better throughout the season, so they have to continue to show that going forward. I mean, because even though they have Paul George there, it doesn't excuse their defense. They have to play better defense, because you don't want to take this type of defense that they're playing right now, which is primarily none, seem like. Even though they are playing hard on defense, I'm not saying they're not playing hard, but they're playing hard at times. They're just not playing consistently hard on defense the way I thought they were earlier in the season. I just thought they were playing better overall as a unit, simply because they knew that Paul George or Kawhi wasn't coming back no time soon, and they locked down when they needed to. Now, I'm not saying their defense was the greatest, because they have had some games where they were down 25 and all those things, but their defense came together when they needed it to. Because think about it, if you're down 25 points in a game, your defense has to collectively come together at some point during that game for you to come back to win that game. And they showed that the other night when they were down 25, when Paul George came back and he had the magical performance and all that. But with Paul George being there, their defense has to lock down a little bit more, because he is one of the top defenders, top 5, top 10 defenders probably in the league, himself. So to me, their defense needs to tighten up more. And if they want to go far as getting out of the play-in tournament, actually getting into the playoffs, their defense is going to have to be more stout, because competition is going to be a lot higher here soon. And the stakes are going to be a lot higher too, because when you get into the play-in tournament, you don't want to give a team like the Timberwolves 130 points. You don't want to give a team like, anybody. You don't want to give nobody 130 points, because you're probably going to lose that game. Now, last night's game against the Bulls, DeMar DeRozan dropped 50. It took overtime from the beat 'em. Understand that. But Clippers could have, made some better defensive plays down the stretch, but you could say that about any game. So I definitely understand that. That's definitely understandable. But at the same time, if the Clippers want to be a factor, they need to tighten up their defense again the way it was, I'd say, mid-season, earlier in the season. And I'd say it was definitely really good before Paul George, before Paul George left with his injury. And they were playing good defense, when they were on their own too, for the most part. So he needs to tighten up a little bit more. And I'm not saying have lockdown defense all game, because they're not going to be that until Norman Powell is there, until Kawhi is there, until everybody's there. Then they'll more so have lockdown defense. But with the players that they have on the floor, they can play pretty good defense now. Now, the offense is going to be better because Paul George is in the lineup now, and he's going to make a difference. Even though he's supposed to be on a minutes restriction, even the minutes that he's playing, he still can give you 20 plus points a game easily with the minutes that he's playing. So, and especially if they give him the green light to take all the shots, then, well, he can give you 25 a game easily. So my point is, they're going to be good. They're going to be better on offense, because adding Paul George definitely is going to, make that happen. He's an all-star for a reason. So, They're definitely going to be better on offense. But as I said before this season is out, they want to try to win as many as they can to, at least have a winning record if they could, leaving the season. But the only way to do that is to play better, a little bit better on defense, and to take that mentality into the play-in. Because if you don't, I promise you, if you allow teams to get 120 plus points every single game here going forward, you're not going to make it far. You may make it into the play-in, but you'll probably find yourself out of the play-in in no time, because at some point you have to stop somebody. That's just what it comes down to. You can have all the offense you want, but at some point stopping somebody is the key. I mean, think about it like this. If stopping somebody wasn't the key, then why aren't the Lakers a better team? The Lakers' biggest problem is what? Defense. They can't stop anybody. They can score a lot of points because they got 3 superstars. But the reason why they can't beat anybody seem like is because when teams really figure out, well, we can get what we want in the paint, and we're getting a lot of wide open shots off penetration that they can't seem to figure out. And that's how teams come back on the Lakers. The Lakers have 25, 26 point leads and get beat by other teams, just like they did about a week ago or less against the Pelicans. It doesn't matter because you don't have any defense. And that's something that the Clippers don't need to fall into. They need to hang on their staple. They need to hang on what's got them this far, is playing hard-nosed defense and, scoring the ball collectively at as efficient as possible. Now, like I said, you're going to get down 20 plus points sometime in games and everything like that. That's going to happen because this is NBA. NBA is a game of runs. That's just basketball, period. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to find yourself down in games. But the thing is, can your defense lock in when they need to overcome what the other team is trying to do? Almost like last night against, when the Bucks played the Nets. The Nets were scoring. They looked like they were going to take the game. Then all of a sudden, the Bucks defense locked down in the last 3 minutes of that fourth quarter, which allowed them and Giannis to come up big the way he did. Shout out to him for playing as big as he did, coming up, hitting big shots, and they gave themselves opportunities to score more, whereas the Nets didn't. And that's what I'm talking about with the Clippers. The Clippers have to be able to, sustain leads, by continuing to let their defense filter out what the other team is doing. Because if you have a lead and the other team makes a comeback, which is probably going to happen in a lot of games, you have to be able to neutralize that with your defense. And if you're down, of course, you have to be able to neutralize it with your defense to make a comeback and get on a run. So the Clippers just need to be able to do that whenever they need to. They don't have to do it all game because their offense is so good. They got a lot of weapons, a lot of different pieces. And like I said, you add an all-star like Paul George back to the mix. Now they're really in business. So when you add Norman Powell back to the mix, now, now you add even more offense and you add a little bit more defense too. So that's my thing with the Clippers. Even though, whether who's on the floor or not, it doesn't matter. They need to just hang their head on what's gotten them this far. And what's gotten them this far to me has been their defense. It's been impressive, throughout pretty much most of the season. The reason why they really only got down a lot of games they did by 20 plus points because they don't have the scoring, but their defense has always been good, this year. So, I mean, matter of fact, the last couple years has been pretty decent. So they need to just kind of, get back on that train a little bit, neutralize a little bit what the team is doing, focus on defense. Don't allow easy backdoor layups, don't be lackadaisical or sleepwalk on defense, because those are things that's going to get you beat. And like I said, I promise you, the last 5 games, they've given up 120 plus points. If they do that going forward, give up 120 plus points, they're not going to be in the play-in tournament too much longer. They might, I should say this, they might get past the play-in tournament. They might, but when you're giving up points like that on average, at some point you're going to fall. You're going to come up short because what if it's one of those nights you're not on offensively? You see what I'm saying? And you score 110 points where you're giving up 119 points a game. It's at some point it's going to come back to bite you. So, I mean, if the Clippers, I know Ty Lue tries to implement defense as well because he did that when he was with Cleveland. He always tries to implement defense as well because, he believes in, defense wins championships. He's from the old school like that. He played with the Lakers back in the day with Shaq and Kobe, where they played a lot of hella defense and their offense, just came collectively. collectively. And that's the way he knows how to play the game, and that's the way he envisions it because of what he was taught by, the Phil Jacksons and people like that he learned from, and when he played as a player. So, I mean, I definitely know that he knows that, and I definitely know that that's something that he's implementing to the guys, or he's going to need to implement that to them, because they can't keep giving up a lot of points and expect to come back and expect to beat teams all the time just because they got Paul George now, or just because they got an extra added piece coming back and Norman Powell here soon. And even when Kawhi Leonard comes back, you still got to play that defense. Now, Kawhi makes a hell of a difference because his defense is so sound that it'll make them damn near unbeatable, because he can guard position 1 through 5 himself, and he's the best player on there. He can also give you an efficient 30 points easily on top of that. So, I mean, you got to give him, credit for what he can do as well. So things will be changed a lot when he comes back. But until then, like I said, if Kawhi Leonard's supposed to come back in the first round of the playoffs, at least that's the notion. He's supposed to come back, or possibly supposed to come back the first round of the playoffs. You have to sustain what you're doing until then. So, I mean, only way to get to the first round of the playoffs and get out of the play-in is to win. So in order for them to win, they're going to have to cut down on, they're going to have to neutralize a little bit more of what the opposition is doing. The opposition can't come into, the arena, or they can't go to somebody else's arena and give up 120 plus points. I'm going to need the Clippers to not narrow that down to maybe, 108, 112, something like that, because that's a little bit more reasonable. If you're giving up 108 points a game, that still isn't good, but that's a lot better than giving up 119, 120, the way they've been doing the last 5 or 6 games. So, I mean, it definitely gives you a better chance to win. So I definitely need the Clippers to tighten up a little bit, tighten up the screws a little bit on defense, keep letting the offense flow, let PG get into a rhythm, and then Norman Powell come back here soon, have him in there, ingratiate him into the offense so he can learn a little bit more how they're playing. Robert Covington is playing pretty good in the offense. He's fitting very well with the team. I know Norman Powell definitely will too. So, I mean, just a little glimpse he gave us, he fits perfectly. So there's no discrepancy there. And just, play collectively and see if you can get out the play-in tournament until your best player comes back. And then now your defense and offense will be damn near on the same level when Kawhi Leonard comes back. So then you'll be able to dictate how your season, the rest of your season will go while you're in, or should I say, you'll be able to dictate how your playoff run will go when he can return, because he'll definitely make a difference on both ends of the floor, and everybody will really go back to their natural position and play with more sound on defense and offense, and they'll be able to collectively play as a unit and neutralize what teams are doing, also while scoring at the high clip that they usually do, or that they usually have done, when all of them are together. But hey, that's my take on everything. Leave any comments in the comment section as always, and hey, Cali out.